there, and welcome to another episode of HomeTech.fm. So happy to have you with us. Jason Griffin here, and joined as always by my partner Seth. Seth, how's it going?
Good man, good man. A little jet lag today, but it's still jet lag. But I'm doing well.
Yeah. Should I say like Guten Tag?
Hey, it's Guten Abend because it's at night, evidently. But yeah.
And pardon my horrible American accent.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a German speaker listening to the show, I apologize for that. It's great to have you back. For our listeners, apologies for missing last week. You know, we really do try to get an episode out every single week, and that's very important to us. But with holiday travel and family and all that being what it is, we just were not able to do that. But we're happy to be here with you this week. And Seth, how was your travels, getting back stateside?
Good, man. It did. The plane rides were no big deal. Trains were just awesome over in Germany. I really wish we had a rail system here in the States like we did over there. Because we didn't, once we landed in Munich, we took trains pretty much all the way down. We landed in Berlin, we took trains all the way down to Munich. So, and hit a couple of small towns and even smaller towns on the way down. So,
awesome.
Yeah, it was good. It's good stuff.
Yeah. It's kind of a sidebar, but, in our line of work, we work with a lot of architects, and we're at a lot of architecture events. And I know that, we tend to think about architecture in terms of just like designing homes or maybe a commercial building, but a lot of what makes them tick is also just the broader planning. And I know there's always, kind of city planning and all of this, and there's always sort of romantic talk about Europe and how great the public transit is over there. And it's just a very different feel. And I know that a lot of people really like that. So I'm sure it was kind of nice for you to get over there and not have to worry about renting a car or driving or where you're going to park. I'm sure that was kind of a good deal.
Yeah, kind of a no stress way to travel. I mean, we missed a couple trains coming back here and there, but like 5 minutes later, another train comes along and you just catch that one. So, to me, it seems like a great deal. But of course, Germany is a lot smaller than the United States, so there's that problem.
Of course.
But yeah, I actually like you were saying, technology and planning and everything. I was kind of keeping an eye out over there of like what technology was existing, and man, there are a lot of cameras. I was really shocked as to how much security cameras I saw, either in plain sight or hidden. But yeah, I'm not sure. If it's like a crime.
Big Brother?
Well, I have a couple of clients from Germany, and they are very security conscious, and I think it just may be something that's over there in their culture. Like, I don't want to.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it just seems like they expect that we install security cameras in their homes, and actually inside and outside of their homes. So I think it's just something that exists over there, and whereas over here I'd put maybe a camera or two on a house, like a normal house. I think over there they had quite a few more, that I saw. So that's I didn't see too much home technology. I tried to keep my eye out. I saw something when I was walking by a mall and a phone store, and I took a quick shot of it.
Had to snap a quick photo.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Like, here's a hub. Let me take a picture of it. So we'll put a link to that in the show note. It's kind of funny. It's just it's kind of like a little small hub and a camera with a motion detector on it. Of course, relating to security. And they show a guy like trying to break into a nice door. The beautiful picture through the door that I'm sure the camera doesn't take. And they also have a thermostat, which I thought was kind of cool. I mean, it's a smart home in Dresden, I guess.
Yeah.
It's what they use.
So. I think some context is relevant here. You saw this because you and I were talking about this before we started recording tonight. You saw this at a mall, correct? It looked like maybe a cell phone store or something like that.
Yeah, we just happened to be walking by kind of an outside of a Galleria's mall type thing, and yeah, I looked over and saw a frontage, dedicated towards home automation, and recognized, that it actually said smart home. So it's like, I'll snap a picture and keep running. So
nice.
Didn't have too much time to dedicate to look at it, but and the store was closed too. Yeah, I went and checked out their website and checked out what they did. Looks like just a mobile phone seller there in Germany, and they have their own little smart technology platform.
Yeah, so similar to what we have going on over here with the likes of AT&T and whatnot. And if nothing else, just a reminder to people, and I think this is useful for myself included, that sometimes it's good to be reminded that we're not the only ones doing this in the United States. We tend to kind of live in our little bubble and think about what we're doing here. And it's always good to be reminded of the fact that home technology is really blossoming everywhere. It's not exclusive to the United States. And speaking of that, Chris Gamble, who's a very good friend of the show, founder of the Live Install hashtag, which we've mentioned on numerous occasions, and just an all-around great resource if you're into the smart home. Wanted to give him a quick shout out on the show today. He's been a supporter of our show over on Patreon for a number of months now, and actually upped his monthly pledge from $1 to $5 this month. So per our normal arrangement, we like to give anyone at that $5 level a nice shout out on air. So Chris, thank you so much. And Seth, I'll let you cue the sound effect.
Yeah, we'll just ring a bell for you, Chris, man. Thanks for your help.
Yeah, and little inside joke. We don't normally ring the bell for the Patreon thing, but he put up a nice post on our Patreon page, kind of commending us a little for what we've been doing so far, and we really appreciate the good feedback. And the bell is kind of a little inside running joke that we have here on the show, and so we wanted to ring that for you, Chris. And thanks again. And one more bit of quick news that I just want to hit very quickly before we jump into a number of news stories that we're going to cover this week. It's a kind of exciting story for us here at Home Tech, Seth. As starting as our modest little home technology podcast, we have now surpassed 1,000 Twitter followers. So pretty excited about that.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember when we had like 5.
Yeah, starting from 0, right?
Yeah. I mean, this has been a fun ride. It's been awesome. If I look back at all the shows that we've done and all the things that we've covered, all of the people we talked to along the way, I mean, it's been a really fun show to do. And it's just kind of one of those, not really a milestone, I guess, but it's just kind of one of those indicators that we must be on to the right track. So here's to the next 1,000. Thanks for everybody for following us early on. So
yeah, absolutely. Won't spend any more time on that. Let's go ahead and jump into our news stories. We've got a number of them that we want to cover this week. And the first one that I wanted to jump into, Seth, and I know you've been traveling, so I don't think you've had quite the opportunity to really kind of dive into these stories the way that I have, but there was a very interesting blog post from the Neo website that was pointed out to me by a fan of the show on Twitter, as it would happen, by the name of Carl Smith. And he pointed out this blog post to me. If you're not familiar with Neo, just by way of very quick explanation, they're a startup. They were a very, very successful crowdfunding. They ran a very successful crowdfunding campaign. And at its core, it's just a handheld remote that controls the media room. But they've got some very cool things going on. They've done an excellent job with the industrial design. We actually had them on the show a while back, and we will include a link to that in our show notes this week. And what's really particularly interesting to me about Neo in general, and it relates directly to the blog post I want to discuss, is that Raphael, who's the founder, Seth, he's got a background, if you recall, doing the same thing that you and I do, which is that traditional home technology, systems integration, business. So he worked in the line of business that we did, and he's done that traditional integration, and he's very familiar with the challenges associated with controlling kind of the media room, entertainment experience. And this blog post was all about the importance of getting that infrared right. And really the gist of it was explaining kind of the design behind their IR blaster. And I thought there was a number of very interesting points to the article. Seth, did you have a chance to kind of dive into this one at all, or?
Yeah, no, I definitely have taken a look at it. Just kind of skimmed it as much as I could, since we've got quite a few things to talk about today. But it's exactly the takeaway that I got from it. It's like, oh yeah, this guy knows. He's been around the industry for a little bit if he knows anything about infrared and discrete IR codes. But this blog post does a pretty good job explaining, I guess, some of the pitfalls of things that you'd run into.
Yep. That
most people don't even know, think, or care about when they're using just a standard infrared remote that comes with their TV.
Right.
And these are the kind of things that you and I and obviously Raphael and the team over at Neo are thinking of. It's kind of getting a laugh at the little portion of the article that was about discrete codes and how they have 40% more than other databases, and they're really concentrating on those discrete codes. Well, like, explaining to most people even what a discrete code is. Like, most people don't even know what that is, and understand that most infrared remotes that you have in your house don't have a command for power on and power off. They just have a power command. And explaining that to clients and how that works, regarding
and what the ramifications are.
It's usually have to explain how that works around cable boxes, right? Because they're notorious for not including discrete codes for power. I kind of got a laugh out of most of the article, like, oh yeah, that's somebody who's been doing this for a while and understands. And then I kind of got a little bit of knowledge out of the first part where he's talking about the hardware and how hard it was to actually make the optics to make IR work.
Yeah, it was a very interesting read, and I think that the takeaway for me, just to summarize, is that with all of the hype around the smart home now, we hear a lot about IP and Bluetooth and Thread and Zigbee and Z-Wave, and those technologies are great, but if you want to get into the world of controlling AV and entertainment devices, which I think is a very critical part of the smart home, you've got to get IR right. You've got to get it nailed. And it's this technology that people don't think of as sexy, and it's not a sexy technology. It's old school. It's the way we've been controlling these devices for literally decades. And I just think that the attention to detail that they're putting into getting the infrared right is admirable. And I think it gives me hope that they're really going to be able to execute and come out with a successful product. And he talks about, again, you alluded to it. So the article is kind of divided into a couple key categories, and it's really the hardware and the software. And on the software side, he talks about the fact that currently their database has, he says, 40% more discrete codes than Logitech, and the database is growing fast. And everybody thinks about Logitech as having kind of the de facto largest database. So I thought that was very interesting. There was a portion of the article where it was kind of funny. He actually talks about how they're trying to get all these codes tested and make sure that they work correctly. And they're going into like electronic repair shops and electronic stores. And he talks about how they actually are getting they got kicked out of a store because they're in there with a remote, just like turning TVs on and off, testing it, which I thought was great. Really shows these guys are out doing that, hard work and the heavy lifting to make sure that their database is tight and that everything works the way it should. The second part, last thing I want to say about it, is the hardware looked very impressive. And there's actually a video, Seth, that I want to make sure we include on the show notes where, and again, this is what our listener Carl Smith pointed out to me, they actually take this IR blaster and put it underneath the credenza where all of the components are that they're controlling. And then they start hitting buttons on the remote and it's still controlling. And so, if it's going to work underneath the credenza, it should pretty much work anywhere in the room. And I thought that was a very impressive demo and really speaks to the attention that they're putting on this kind of legacy, but really critical technology.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool video. I'm sitting here watching it while you were talking. Yeah, that's hey, the only thing that caught my eye, there's actually a light sitting over on the desk that says party, and I gotta wonder what those guys use that for.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Anyways, great, really interesting company. I think that even if you're not a backer of Neo or you're not in the market for a new remote, their blog is a great one to follow. We should certainly include a link to that in our show notes, and it really, I think they do a great job of keeping that blog updated, and some of their insights in terms of the convergence of kind of traditional home automation with the DIY space are really fascinating. It's a great blog to follow.
Yep. Man, watching that video, I just want this remote so bad. Like it's showing how it works, pressing the buttons, things are happening. The little kind of update, spinning wheel update thing. It just looks cool. Like they've done such a good job with this in and out. Send me a Neo remote, man. I want this thing. This is amazing. So
yeah, it's a great looking product.
Yep.
I agree.
So there's a big announcement there in Denver. You guys are getting a Home Automation University.
Yeah, this was a big story, and I was we kind of caught wind of this in Denver a couple of months ago at the Savant Roadshow. This was sort of alluded to. And so we had kind of an idea this was coming. CE Pro actually just broke the story yesterday, and it's called House, HAUS, a home automation university. And, there's a lot of interesting aspects to this story. The kind of the 30,000 foot view short version is that a company here, large company, kind of a traditional home technology company, has launched as a separate entity, even though they share the same CEO, has launched this home automation university. And basically it's like a trade school, right? Is the way I'm reading it, Seth. And it's, as an integrator, or I guess as an aspiring integrator, or somebody who wants to get into the business, you can pay them. The article doesn't specify kind of what that annual membership fee is, but whatever, they kind of alluded to that it's going to be up in the thousands. So we don't really know what that means, but we're not talking about a small check. And you'll basically become a member of the Home Automation University, with the idea being that they'll share resources and kind of teach best practices. And they've got a large facility here in the Denver area that they're going to be doing technical training on. And, a lot of it sounds well and good, but just really some interesting aspects to the story that I'm still trying to wrap my brain around here.
Yeah. So you're a little more close to home on this. It's in your market. The players that are involved, and I'm kind of looking at it as just another announcement on CE Pro. But this, so taking a step back and kind of looking at it and saying, okay, let's see what they're going to offer. It looks more like they're going head to head with CEDIA, like the trade organization that we go to the show every year. Like, they have trainings and everything that tell you how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
But they're also adding in like different things, like a CRM, sales service software suite, and a couple of other things you need to run your business with. It also, there's one of the first bullet points on here is become a Savant authorized dealer. So like, as soon as you go through this training that they have on how to run a business, like, you're a Savant dealer now. So it kind of seems like a buying group too, right? Yeah.
And I mean, the CE Pro article kind of goes out of its way. The House is trying to make an adamant point about the fact that they're not a buying group. The relationship between House and Savant, I'll admit, I don't really understand completely, and I don't want to just speculate. The line that you referred to is literally just like a bullet point in that article, and there's not a lot of other mention about that really specific aspect of it. I mean, Savant is mentioned on a number of occasions, but not really that aspect of becoming a dealer. So I don't know what that means, and I don't want to speculate. I will kind of admit right up front, I got to wear a little bit of bias on my sleeve on two fronts. One being, this is a Denver initiative, and so I'm looking at it through the eyes of a local dealer who could be, I guess, potentially impacted by what they're doing there, either for the better or for the worse. I'm not saying one way or the other, but that's the filter that I'm looking at it through. The second being, probably even more important on a personal level, is having just come away from kind of narrowly dodging the bullet that was the VIA implosion. I look at anything that I perceive as kind of a consolidation or any sort of effort at a roll-up through a very skeptical eye. And one of the main things that they're emphasizing in this article, and they hit on it a number of times, is that you'll become part of this group, and then there's going to be these KPIs or key performance indicators and metrics that they're going to track, and then you're going to be able to kind of track those against fellow members of the group. And all of that really hinges on getting everybody who's part of this initiative onto the same sort of CRM and ERP software. I just went through this a couple of years ago at VIA when they tried to roll up and get everybody onto the same software tools. And I'm telling you, it was a god-awful mess. And I think that, the idea of having people come into this initiative and take some real world training away from that, maybe a place where we could send technicians to learn a thing or two about how installations really work, I can get behind that. I just think we work in such a traditional and I don't use this term disparagingly. I think we work traditionally in sort of a mom and pop type of business. I think the small to mid-sized businesses are really where our industry thrives. This industry is all about relationships. It's all about high touch sales and fostering strategic long-term relationships with trade partners. And we all come up doing that our own way. And I think trying to consolidate and get people all to buy in and do things a certain way is going to be a very tall hill to climb.
Yeah, I agree on all those points. And as you were saying that, I'm thinking like, okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about is how this is a boutique industry and how it's maturing. And this seems to, and you hit right on that point, like you nailed it. It's all mom and pop's businesses. But, one thing we've talked about with everything that we've talked about here on Home Tech for the past 2 years is that this industry is changing every day with new hubs and new product that come on the market that are clearly down market solutions that actually work better and if not have more features than some of the stuff that we put in on a day-to-day basis. And I think and by the way, you have every right to be weary of seeing these type of roll-ups done, especially from what happened with you and what happened at the VIA companies. So I think this is more of a softer approach. It feels like the VIA. VIA was
it's different. Yeah, it's not a direct comparison. For sure.
Yeah. So, but I mean, you definitely have every right to be, hands off, just kind of let's see how this works first and hesitant to jump all into something like this. But this seems like an effort to consolidate a knowledge base and get people talking on the same level. And we complain about that. We don't have any standards nationwide as to how a home automation system gets installed or what even qualifies as a home automation system. I have local security dealers selling home automation systems. Well, it's just a security system. It's not home automation because you can arm and disarm your security system. Like that's not
right.
That it's a little bit more than that. And where does that stop? Like, is it really a home automation system if I put lighting control in? Well, no, that's just lighting control. So I think to me, this looks like a decent effort to build something that presents itself as a standard. Now, the question that really comes to my mind is like, isn't this what CEDIA is supposed to have been doing for the last, 20 or 30 years that it's been in existence? I think the answer is yes. Like, this is what CEDIA should have been doing. Like, we have no custom CRM software built around the AV industry that CEDIA has provided to its membership. No, that's not really their role. They've been they've been educating us. They've been educating us on how to install projects, how to run a business. And this seems like a small, like you said, trade school.
Like a trade school.
Yeah. To get exactly what you need out of it and walk away with the tools you need to like start your business off the ground and get a little help with marketing and managing parts of this business that may not be so obvious if you're just getting into it for the first time.
Right.
So I mean that's kind of what I see when I look at it. It looks interesting to me. I'm not gonna lie. Like this, we're a member of a number of buying groups, and they kind of do the same thing, but this looks like a hybrid between buying groups and what CEDIA provides for education. And the buying groups get you the prices. They get you a little bit better deal because you're buying in with a larger quantity, and they'll get a better price and discount if you're part of that buying group. But that's not necessarily the end of the story. Like, it's great that you can get the product cheaper, but you still have to have the knowledge to put it in and the knowledge to run your business. And it looks like, these guys, have made, to me, it's like, they're just standing on, we've made this business in Denver. Let's see what we can do to put out, I'm trying to find a word for it and I can't, but the knowledge that we have doing all this for other dealers and share that knowledge.
Yeah, and that in and of itself doesn't sound like such a bad thing. I have to admit I'm extremely skeptical about this idea and kind of bearish on it. I just don't see, I see this, like you said, as being the role of a trade organization like a CEDIA, where we kind of all come together as an industry to drive, kind of raise the tide to raise all boats. I just don't know who's going to buy into this. I really don't see it. I don't see the value add for most people. I think that one of the main things I'll say, and one of the last things really that I want to say on it, is that I want to solicit, anybody who works in the industry who's listening to the show to take a look and let me know your thoughts. Let us know your thoughts. Maybe feedback at HomeTech.fm is the easiest way, or over on Twitter at HomeTech Podcast. I've been very surprised, Seth, that the CE Pro article went live as we sit here and record this. It's been live for well over 24 hours, and I thought for sure there'd be a very kind of a healthy dialogue in the comments section. I was actually really looking forward to hearing what people had to say about it, and so far, nothing. I mean, it's been crickets. And I thought that was very interesting. I don't know if people just haven't caught wind of the story yet, or if they're just not interested. But CE Pro is the largest audience of I would say potential customers for House, and so far there hasn't been much going on there. But obviously, again, I got to wear my bias on my sleeve from a number of different angles. And I think I've said my general takeaway from the story, and I'll be curious, really keeping a close eye on this on a number of levels moving forward.
Yeah, I've just got to say, like, the who this would appeal to, I don't know if they're going to be reading. Maybe they are reading CE Pro, but I don't. I'm trying to think of like the guys that I know that this would do well for their business. I don't know if they would actually go through with something like this, and take their business to what would be the next level, or at least get the training on what it would take to get their business to the next level. Like most of the guys I know in this industry, if you ask them if they had a CRM, they would look at you sideways. Like, they have their deals written on the back of a napkin or the back of an instruction book.
And my point is, good luck getting them to use a CRM.
Right. And I yeah, and if they don't, and they're not using the tools, and they're not using the marketing angles and working on their business exactly how everybody in our industry, like you said, it's been a boutique industry. Like, everybody runs their business completely different. I think that's what VIA ran into, right?
VIA.
It was the
that was one amongst many challenges, but like getting everybody on the same page. Plan.
Yeah, and everybody had a different way of running their operations. Everybody had a different way of buying stuff, and you try and put all those different players in the room, and I'm sure like there were smart enough people there to work that out and get that up and going. But that's a very tough thing to do. I mean, that's very tough. This is saying, okay, well, here's a template. Like, this is what you should do. You should put your leads into this CRM, and they should go through this process. And if you're not following it, this is where you're gonna fail. I don't know. It seems like a really good idea to me, but it's going. I'm not sure what their pricing is going to be like. If it's anything like buying groups, I think it's going to be a little bit too low. I think for all the stuff that they're offering and they want you to do, like, I think it's going to be kind of a higher price thing. I really wish there was pricing that was published, but there doesn't seem to be anything right now. I don't know. We're going to have to keep an eye on this for sure.
Yeah, it's an interesting story, no matter where you sit in terms of the, I guess, predicting the outcome and looking into your crystal ball. I think it is an interesting story, and one that anybody interested in the smart home, whether you're a professional or just an enthusiast and you're kind of interested in sort of this convergence that we're always covering, certainly a story you should be watching. But I think enough said about that one, Seth. Let's move on. There was a couple of, we don't do a lot of really patent coverage on this show. We try to stay away from doing a lot of coverage about speculation and brand new products. But there was a couple of stories that sort of tied together this week on the patent front that I thought would be interesting just to talk about briefly. And one of them was a story on Forbes, actually, about Amazon and a couple of patents related to gesture control. And that we've talked numerous times on the show about gesture control and how we think that, or maybe we don't think that it could be a potential for kind of a primary means of control for the smart home moving forward. I happen to be one who thinks that gesture control could be a big deal. It could get there, and the technology just has to catch up. And this was an article all about that. And there was actually 2 different patents. We won't get into too much of the detail, but basically one of them, well, I should just combine them. Really, the essence of both of these patents combined would be that it would turn kind of your physical space around you into a control space using different technologies to project objects in front of you and then recognize the gestures that you were kind of doing in relation to those objects as a means of control. So again, obviously very speculative stuff, but I think the fact that Amazon is looking at this stuff and making some patent claims now, I think is interesting and could show an interest in further development on the gesture control smart home.
Yeah, it is interesting. I'll probably say this again, but these companies like Amazon and Apple publish patents all the time, so it's kind of difficult to read into them. Like, this could just be something that they've done that the lawyer said they had to do, to CYA. You patent
Definitely.
stuff, and if somebody comes back and tries to sue you later, and he goes, well, I have a patent on it, and then that goes to court for another 10 years, and then the patent's invalid, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. So I don't think, I guess broader, let's speak broader on this. Like I think you're going with this is that it's interesting that these companies like Amazon and Apple are investing time and effort into thinking about this, right? Like this is something that's really could be really cool, potentially cool, if it ever works. But we're getting more and more of these bigger players into the game that are actually looking down the road and saying, okay, gesture control may be a neat thing to add into the Amazon Echo platform. Let's see what we can do there and get that built into the system. I thought the drawings and the way they were implementing it was kind of strange, but that's what patents are. It's not the final product, so to speak.
Well, yeah. No, I think you hit the nail on the head, and really where I want to talk about these sort of stories, if we ever talk about them, is from the high level. And when you've got companies like Amazon and Apple, like you said, even devoting the time and the resources to think about this stuff, I think that's worth paying attention to. And, we can speculate on whether gesture control will be big or whether it won't. But the fact of the matter is, these companies are taking an increased interest in what they can do to further smart home development, and for us to really get to a point where the smart home is truly ubiquitous, which I think is only a matter of time, and it's just a speculation of when, not if. It's going to take the backing of very large private money coming in, and that's what we've been covering, partially at least for the last couple of years, really, since we started the show, is again this convergence that I alluded to earlier, and how what we've been doing traditionally in the smart home for literally decades is now becoming sort of the realm and the interest of very large companies like Amazon and Google and Apple. And so really that's, to me, where the interest lies in stories like this. We'll include links to the patents so you can go kind of read that, or links to the articles at least that talk about them. And, I think if nothing else, it's just a good thought exercise.
Yeah, this other story here about the Apple patents, like those are pretty. They're just patenting home automation in general. It seems like this is stuff that we've been doing for years.
Yeah,
right?
This one, so the Amazon one, I thought had some interesting, like I said, thought experiments, and kind of got my wheels turning a little bit and thinking about what the smart home actually could look like. Where really these Apple patent stories I read, and I was kind of scratching my head. I was really trying to find what was significant about this story, because, one of them was really, I'll start with, there was 2 of them, and one of them was really about voice control and in the smart home. And that's, to me, it's still a nascent technology, but not a new idea. There wasn't a lot of meat on that bone. I didn't take a lot away from reading that. The other one I read was really about like what we've been doing in the smart home forever. It was kind of a very overly complicated explanation, I felt like, of the simple concepts that guys like you and me and other, anyone into the smart home has been dealing with for years. And that's kind of the idea of a controller and an accessory, which an accessory being defined as any device that can be controlled. So a light switch, whatever, and the controller being the processor. We've had those forever. And then, putting these accessories into groups and then kind of creating scenes and having different actions that trigger them. And I'm reading this, and this is like home automation 101, Seth. I'm scratching my head going, what's new about this? And really, I think the answer is nothing. It's just like you said, the patent business has become a very convoluted mess. For better or worse, it's just something that these companies have to do, right? Is go out and kind of stake their claims and get patents for protection or whatever it is. And that was really what I read about these stories. I don't know if you had a different take on them.
No, I mean, I think if you look at what Apple, I guess, has been issued a patent on, like you said, this is home automation 101. This is what we've been doing for a number of years. It seems like it. And of course, like you said, it's more complicated, written up to be more complicated than it looks. But the idea is, I mean, I think they'd have a hard time with like prior art. Like this goes back 20, 30 years before Apple was even a mainstream computer company that it is today, where they're making iPhones and products like that. So I think they'd have a hard time defending this, but I think maybe this is just probably one of those things they have to do for their own defense. Like they're clearly they're clearly in the home automation game now with HomeKit that's out there, and I guess this is one of those things. You gotta put these patents out there. If you're a big target like Apple and Amazon, you have to get this stuff out there, because somebody could come along and say, oh no, I patent that 20 years ago or whatever, 10 years ago,
right.
And now you owe me billions of dollars for every iPhone that you've ever sold that had HomeKit on it. Well, I mean, that's never good. That just shuts down innovation. That shuts down everything. We went through that with the Lutron Control 4. Well, actually, it's Lutron versus everyone. Early on in my career, where a lot of manufacturers were making connected light switches essentially, and guess what? Lutron had the patent on that, and they clearly had the patent on it, and a lot of control companies, just about I think every one of the control companies that had lighting control, ended up having to pay royalties to Lutron for it, or settle with Lutron. So but it was kind of a strange thing, because I think Control 4 tried to fight them on it, and that was like, it ended up going where we had like very strange things we had to do inside the project to get the lighting control system to work correctly, because they were trying to do all these workarounds to get around a patent. Well, the patent is a patent, and it's there to protect the person that invented it and the ideas and the research that went into it. So, I do agree with that, but, things like organizing a collection of devices into a virtual, group, I'm not sure that's more of a thought process. And I've never been a fan of patents that are just like thoughts, right? Like a patent that is clearly something that took a long time to dream up and put together and figure out how to do. That's what the patent system was for, protecting that kind of work. Not, oh, I dreamt this up one night and this is a thought process, and how this thought process you can patent. I've never been a fan of those. Yeah,
you're exactly right. No, I think that very good points. I can't really say it any better than you already did. Excuse me. Credit to a site called Patently Apple, and that's another interesting site to follow if you're not familiar with it. That's really all they do, is they go through and they dig through old Apple patents and release articles, kind of doing analysis on it. And if nothing else, it's great for sort of thought exercises. The article that I read did say that this patent was originally filed back in 2014. So not to say that this is a brand new patent, but again, the site kind of goes through and digs through what Apple's been doing and tries to uncover stuff that they think is interesting and relevant. And a great blog to follow. It's definitely one on my Feedly list that I keep an eye on, and they do some great work over there. I think, like you said, it's all just sort of this mess of patent law, and you kind of summarized it better than as good, I think, as you possibly can. And I just wanted to point the story out. I thought it was interesting, especially coming from the background of doing professional home automation for as long as I've been doing it. Again, I'm reading this article and I'm scratching my head and really trying to figure out what's significant about it. And all I could really come up with was this is just a patent grab, really.
Yep. Yeah. You got to CYA.
Yeah.
Especially when you're worth billions of dollars.
Yeah.
With Amazon and Apple, you have to do it. But like you said, let's take the step back and look at it. Like, I'm really glad these companies are doing something like this, because it does increase the awareness, when the general population has the ability to do home automation with, their phone and maybe a $50 or $100 connected device. Like, that's great. Like, that increases that awareness. It filters down or up, whichever way you think it to be, into driving people into our showrooms and letting them come to us and say, I really want to do this top notch. How do you do it? And we can provide those services for them.
Yep. You got it. Well, we'll close the show out here with one last quick story, and it relates to Apple as well. And that is good news for Sonos fans, is that Sonos will support Apple Music starting on December 15th. So not a lot to say about this other than, it was expected, but we just didn't know when it was going to happen. And now we've got a date. So December 15th for all of you Sonos owners or Sonos fans out there or dealers. Great thing to know, and obviously good news.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be waiting around for, probably this time next week, most people will be listening to the show, and they'll probably get an update for their Sonos system come through. I think this is great. This has definitely been missing from the Sonos lineup. Not as much as, maybe AirPlay, but...
here we go.
I'm gonna have to start ringing a bell on that one. So
we need a sound effect for every time Seth gripes about Sonos not having AirPlay.
Yeah, well, it is the number one music product in the world right now, and
well, I'll let you cut in the sound effect in post this time.
Well, hopefully they'll work that out now that they've gotten this taken care of. But yeah, I'm excited to see it. I think my wife still has the Apple Music subscription going on. I'm not sure she's using it, but she does love music, and from time to time she will kick it on and say, "Oh, I'm listening to this station." And I have a blog post on our website about how to get AirPlay actually working. I only have 2 Play 3s and 1 Play 1. And if you know anything about the Sonos products, those don't have any audio inputs into them. So I can't do the trick that Sonos actually recommends you do, where you use a Airport Express and plug the AirPlay out of that into the Sonos. I can't do that. So there's a little hack that I ran across, and I run on an extra computer I have here at the house. And as long as it's working and not crashing, it seems to have worked really well. We used it for a party that we had. And played Apple Music for probably like 6 to 8 hours. I mean, it was all night.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I remember you posting this, and I think we talked about it on the show, and it was something that involved getting into the command line on your Mac, right?
Yeah, it does.
That was the deal breaker for me.
Yeah, there's a couple of products out there that are in beta, or I would consider them more in alpha right now. Like, they're just not ready for prime time either. But it looks like some people are trying to wrap this little hack that this guy made into an actual program where you run it and it works. So maybe those will be out in the next couple of months, and you'll be able to just run a program rather than type in a couple words.
Yeah. Yep. Stay out of the command line, man. It's just not worth it.
It's for power users only, man.
Yeah. One of those things. Anyways, just wanted to point that out again. Obviously, something that we've all been kind of expecting and knowing would come. It was just sort of a matter of time. And great news is we have a date now. So we just wanted to again let people know Sonos will be supporting Apple Music starting on December 15th. And that pretty much wraps up our show here, Seth. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think that's good. I'm just going to go to pass out right now because I'm still trying to catch up on sleep.
Still jet lagged. Well, welcome back. We're happy to have you back, and want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to this week's episode. As per usual, we just want to send a quick reminder out to people that Home Tech Podcast is a proud member of the Technology.fm family of podcasts that can, as the name implies, be found at Technology.fm. It's a great kind of collection of shows that if you're into our show, I think you should go check out. And, you'll probably find some other podcasts there that you'd be interested in. And once again, just want to encourage people to, if you enjoy the show or find what we do as a valuable resource, we'd encourage you to hop over to iTunes and leave us a review. That's a very, very big deal. And a quick way that you could help out the show and support us would be to jump over there and leave us a review. We'd really appreciate it.
Yep, and we also have the Patreon thing, which we mentioned earlier. We don't have any sponsorships for the show. It's completely members supported. And if you want to throw a couple of bucks our way that way, you head over to the Patreon. It's over at HomeTech.fm/support. That'll get you to the Patreon page one way or another, if that's something you feel like doing. You have any questions, comments, scathing reviews? You can reach out to us on the website as well, HomeTech.fm/feedback, and on Twitter at HomeTechPodcast.
Awesome. All right, Seth. Well, I will let you go, catch up on some sleep, and we'll look forward to talking to you next week.
Sounds good, and have a good week.
All right, you too. Take care.